Okay, I guess my presentation is already visible. So today I have prepared for you a very concrete workshop, individual scientific research grants funded by Yale on the example of Slovak National Scholarship Program. Well, a few words about me. I'm recently affiliated with two universities, Sumy State University as my home native university where I have been working for like 15 years. And due to some circumstances in Ukraine, last 2 years and a half, I work in Bratislava, in University of Economics in Bratislava. And actually this individual research grant helped me and to find a full-time job offer here and in Bratislava. And actually, one of the benefits of such individual scientific research grants is just spreading your network, finding fundings, colleagues, and research opportunities. So here on this slide, you can see the structure of my presentation. I will start to speak and say a few words about motivation, then how to identify available grant opportunities, what are the eligibility criteria, assessment criteria, a few words about researcher profile, about scientific mentor, application documentation, research topic, and research proposal itself. So maybe in some cases, I will repeat a bit what Oksana has said, but mostly I will show you it's an example of my concrete research proposal. So the first point I would like to mention is motivation. So what I hear from my colleagues and from PhD students, that they are simply not motivated to start to work on their research proposal, because all of us, we are a bit lazy people, and you know, when you do some work, you are supposed to have some payment for this work. And in case with writing grant applications, it's like a lottery, but you invest not money, but you invest your own time. So you write this application, you submit it, you spend a lot of time, but you are never sure that this application would be supported and this application would be successful. So I think that this is the mostly demotivating factor for people. So in this case, what I recommend is just to find your own motivation, because when someone forces you, like a dean or a head of department, to start to work with these grant opportunities, it's a bit wrong motivation. So you have to find your own motivation. So my motivation always was, it's a nice source of financing travels. Traveling abroad, meeting new people, widen your network, finding new friends from your sphere. So actually, that was my motivation. Secondly, we are all, as researchers, we are supposed to write some scientific papers. And actually, as you probably know, a lot of those papers, they're pretty expensive. So actually, the second, what is good about this individual research grants, this is a source of funding of your publications. So actually, also when you write this application at the first time, it takes a lot of time, a lot of efforts, and it's a hard work to do. But when you already have one application and successful application, so the second, the third one will take less and less time, because simply you will be more skilled, and you will have your own examples of successful applications. Plus, when we'll speak about application documentation, you will see the list of typical application documents. And actually, when you have already prepared it once, then you can simply use the same documents for all the following applications, like CV or motivation letters or recommendation letters. You can simply update them slightly. It will take just several minutes to update them, and you're already ready. So just to tailor a bit your application, to change the topic, but the structure is already familiar and so on. So actually, that's the very important thing to start. And when you do that the first time, it really takes a lot of efforts and a lot of time. Actually, my first scientific application, it took me like 1 month daily work to prepare all the documentation, the research proposal itself. But all the following applications already were ready like 4 to 3 days or a week. So it takes less and less time when you have the skill to write the application. So actually, that's why I strongly recommend you just to find motivation, at least for the first application to start, and then it will be easy and easy. So we continue, and on the next slide, which is very brief and short, dedicated to some available grant opportunities. So Oksana, in her previous presentation, she told a lot of different possible websites, platforms, and so on. There are hundreds of them where you can find different funding opportunities. So here in my presentation, I would like just to show you one way how I like to find this individual research grants. So you can simply Google, and in Google with the keywords, you can write National Scholarship Program, and you can add to this Google request country in which you would like to have this grant opportunity for your individual research grant. For example, because I was in Slovakia and now I work in Slovakia, so if I add National Scholarship Program Slovakia, the first official web link would lead you to that website of that specific National Scholarship Program. And there on that website, you can find all the necessary information about eligibility criteria, some templates for documents, whatever. So actually, what I have checked, there are, I just simply made a Google request, National Scholarship Program Austria, National Scholarship Program Poland, National Scholarship Program Germany. And every time when you make this Google request, the first link would be to official national agency, which is responsible for this granting. So that's the way how you easily can find these granting opportunity. So we move on. Next thing I would like to speak is possible eligibility criteria. So Oksana has already mentioned that, and I would like just to tailor this eligibility criteria to this specific type of grants, so individual research grants. So here you can see some possible eligibility criteria like academic qualification. So mostly these are for PhD students or young researchers or just researchers. Age might be as eligibility criteria because very often and most of the opportunities, grant opportunities, are for young researchers like till the 35 years. But still there are a lot of possibilities for without any age restrictions. I call that scientific ageism, unfortunately, takes place, but still. For example, this specific grant, which I will show you as an example, it doesn't have any age restrictions. So language certificate, very often with different research grants and so on, there is one of the requirements to show your language competences and to prove it with some kind of certificate, and there is some maybe requirement for the level like B2 or C1. So actually, if you see this as an eligibility criteria and you simply don't have this proven, this certificate, so actually, that's simply not your grant opportunity and you have to search further. Then research experience. Again, Oksana already has mentioned about that. And in future slides, I will speak about it more concretely. Then affiliation with institution and country. So actually, in some national scholarship programs, there is only the list of countries from which they are accepting their participants, or maybe it could be restricted with a region, or maybe no restrictions. But still, before to start to work with this application, you have to be sure that your country and your university is eligible, and you are, as a researcher, you are affiliated with your institution, so it must be simply eligible. And the last one, proposed research topic. Again, it depends on the grant opportunity. There are, like in case with national scholarship programs, mostly they don't have any research topic like a focus on some. So it doesn't matter you work with medicine, sports, economics, whatever. So you can apply with any research direction. But there are some specific grant opportunities, research opportunities dedicated to some concrete topic. So you have to be sure that the topic you dedicate your research is simply within this focus of this program. So the next one, again, was partially already mentioned, possible assessment criteria. So when we speak about assessment criteria, again, this is the first step when it's like your homework. Before you start to work on your application, you have to read assessment criteria because it will help you to tailor your application based on those assessment criteria. Because according to those assessment criteria, those experts, they read your application. So we are all, as university lecturers, we read diploma thesis of our students. And we see how sometimes it's difficult to read the diploma thesis only because those students didn't read the manual, university manual on the font, on the deadline, on the shape, tables, and so on and so on. So actually, this assessment criteria will simply help you to tailor your application concretely to this template or to this call or to this scholarship requirements. So here on this slide, I have gathered assessment criteria to 3 groups, which are actually relevant to specifically individual research grants. So first part is dedicated to proposal itself. Second is dedicated to the applicant. And the third one is dedicated to a mentor. So the first one, it's the estimation of the quality of the research proposal. So here I have put some keywords based on which you have to think about the quality of your research proposal. So novelty, originality, innovation, significance, clarity, impact, alignment with funding agency priorities, research objectives, methodology, data, and timeline. So actually, based on this criteria, later on, I will show you some examples from my research grant, which was supported. And then I will show you some examples on how to formulate these criteria in some example. But generally, these are, let's say, keywords that have to be proven with your research proposal. Then the second one, it's like a group of assessment criteria which are connected with the applicant itself. So applicant's expertise and track record. So here, assessment criteria would include qualifications and experience, publications and previous projects, collaborations, memberships, and so on. Again, I will have one more slide dedicated to a researcher profile. And the last one, like a group of assessment criteria, this is scientific mentor expertise and track record. So very important is the, for individual research scholarship grants and proposals, is the mentor expertise and mentor profile itself, because mentor must be more experienced than researcher. Mentor must work in the same field. What is the mentor role? What is the mentorship plan? What is the institutional support with which mentor is affiliated? So that's why actually very oftenly for the individual research grants, this assessment criteria are gathered within these 3, let's say, focused groups. So now let's have a look at the researcher profile. And actually, this is something that you have to gather for years. And the earlier you start, the more successful as a researcher you will be. So academic background. I have a folder on my computer, and in this folder, I scan all my certificates, all my diplomas. I have all of them translated. I have all those certificates from all the programs, all the projects, all those conferences like improvement. I have CV in PDF, in Word. I have CV updated in English, in Ukrainian, in German, in Slovak, and I update it regularly. So actually, I'm always ready to apply because I have simply this folder already fulfilled with this, let's say, proven of some job experience or attendance or trainings or whatsoever. So the next, what is important for the researcher profile, it's research experience. Projects, studies, trainings, courses, list of grants or fundings you previously received, previous partnership with universities or research institutions. All these things must be again formalized and proven somehow. So it might be, for example, grant agreement between universities. All of us, we have our network, we're traveling, we're communicating with people. So actually, when you are somewhere abroad on a conference and you met someone, you can agree on some cooperation, you can sign some cooperation contract, you can be coordinator or co-organizer on some conference and so on. So this I call formalization of some cooperations between institutions, universities, and researchers. The next one, publications and conferences. Oksana has already mentioned, and there was a question about Q1, Q2, Scopus, and Web of Science. So publications and conferences. Of course, the wider list of these publications and conferences you have, the better, because you can choose different articles for different research programs. But for highly financed international grants, it is important to show high quality papers. So high quality papers must be in English, in Scopus or Web of Science databases, and better included in those journals, which are journals with high reputation. And the reputation of journal, it's about those quartiles, first, second, third, fourth, and no quartiles at all. So actually, if you have the list of your papers, and preferably those for papers that you have as a proven list of your publication activity, for individual research grants or for any scientific grants, you can simply show, and that would be higher estimated if those journals are in first, second, third, or at least they're indexed in Scopus or Web of Science databases. So that's about your publications. And actually, I guess that any researcher does it like that, do it like that. I have a list of my publications where I simply group them. Scopus papers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Web of Science papers, other peer review papers, conference theses, monographs, books, and so on. So actually, I strongly recommend for our young audience to start to gather your publications to these one documents with the list of your papers. So again, this is one of the documents which is required for a scientific research grant. And again, if it's already ready and you simply update it when you have some kind of new publication, it's already will make your application process much more easier. And the last one, current research goals. So again, we'll speak about that a bit further when we discuss some topics for grant proposals. Oksana has already mentioned that. And here I would like to show on this slide the list of those social networks and web presentations which must be just must have. Of course, there are a lot of them, plus Pablans, Academy, SlideShare, and so on. I couldn't fit all of them, the full list of this web presence of the researcher. So here I can see those that are very necessary. So all of you who would like to apply with any research scientific grant, you have to be registered in LinkedIn, because this is actually the place where I have found my scientific mentor, where I have found a lot of colleagues for common papers. This is the place where you can share contacts in any conference, any networking, and so on. So definitely you must be registered in LinkedIn. Then ResearcherGate and ORCID, these are two databases, two websites, social networks specified for researchers. So on these platforms, you also, it is necessary, just must have to have an account there, to be registered there, to have your researcher number, and to update your papers. And actually, you can also use this web just to find some PDF of papers, to discuss these papers with the authors, to ask someone to share with you some PDF if it's not in an open access, and so on. And the last one, it's Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science profiles. So again, for those who are more experienced in scientific work, obviously you already have your profiles in Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science. But maybe for our PhD students, I would strongly recommend you to register and to have your account on Google Scholar, Scopus, and Web of Science profiles, because firstly, this is the access to those papers which are indexed in these databases. And these papers, you will find them in PDF on this website. Secondly, you can't register yourself in Scopus and Web of Science. Yourself, you can register only in Google Scholar. And to register yourself on Scopus on Web of Science, you have to apply through the university special department. It might be library or some scientific department. Usually you can find this information on the website, because there is the university as an institution is the one who is responsible for the registration of employees, researchers on Scopus and Web of Science. So actually, me myself, as the person from the street, I can't register on Scopus, because I have to be registered there through the university account. So for that, you need the help of someone who is responsible for this registration from the university department or library or whatsoever. So basically, you can ask colleagues or your scientific mentor how to do that. But this is the list of, let's say, minimum list of those social networks and webs that are necessary for any researcher and for future grant research opportunities. So next slide is without text, only a picture. This is the profile of scientific mentor. So scientific mentor, just a few words about scientific mentor. Scientific mentor must be with everything higher than the applicant. So if you are associated professor, your scientific mentor must be professor. If you're a PhD student, your scientific mentor must be at least with scientific degree of associated professor. If you have 10 papers, your scientific mentor must have 20 papers. The better match you are with your scientific mentor, the best chances you have to be successfully supported. So it means if you are from, like me, accounting department, so my scientific mentor also must be at least with some field dedicated to accounting or reporting or finances. Again, that's about common research interests. So if you work in some research sphere and you have papers, now I will go closer to my specific topic, and those further examples I will show just on my topic, which is dedicated to sustainability reporting. So if I have the list of papers dedicated in different aspects of sustainability reporting, so it means that the profile of my scientific mentor must be within my research topic. So he must be some kind of expert in this field, which must be proven for some kind of memberships or leading position in university, or topics within his research publications, or some kind of expertises, memberships, and so on. So it is really important to show in your application the picture of your scientific mentor or scientific supervisor, and this must be really perfect match. Also, one of the things which is not 100% necessary but recommended, if you can prove some kind of previous history of collaboration with your scientific mentor. For example, when I just started to search some possibilities for individual research grants, I started to search someone from Slovakia because there was an open call for Slovakia. So actually the only one possible department of accounting in Slovakia was in University of Economics in Bratislava. And actually, I simply wrote in LinkedIn the chief of accounting department, and I sent him my scientific proposal, my topic, list of papers, and that's actually in LinkedIn. And that's how our communication started. And before I have applied with my scientific mentor to some kind of common projects, I suggested him collaboration. So I came to conference. I invited him as a speaker to some of our virtual classes. I have suggested to sign a cooperation agreement between universities. Then we had some common paper published in co-authorship. So when I used his profile for my future applications, I had already some history which is proven, which is tracked and recorded of our some previous collaborations. Because when expert reads your application and sees that there are some common projects, some common publications in co-authorships, it means that you're already familiar, scientifically familiar with this person. And it means that you have already done this and that you will definitely be successful in what you are promising in your application. So I would suggest to start to search your scientific mentor also in advance. So we continue, and next slide is dedicated to application documentation for an individual scientific research grant. So the first one, research proposal. With this, I will show you my example a bit later. And the following documentation, I will simply briefly comment. So CV. I strongly recommend to prepare CV maximum for 1 page with a small picture and with the help of Europass, so-called Europass template, which is an official website for preparing CV based on this EU requirements. So Europass CV must be better, preferable. Then recommendation letters, motivation letters. This is something that I won't comment a lot because it's like a separate workshop dedicated to the process of preparing CV, recommendation, and motivation letter. Actually, you can simply find some examples and recommendations online somewhere on the web. There are a lot of examples of recommendation and motivation letters, how to write them to be successful. So I will simply skip it. But one small comment. If you are ready with the list of these documents, like recommendation letter you have prepared, motivation letter you have already prepared, you have list of publications. So it means that you have already your own template of these documents, and you can use it for your following applications. So it's a hard job to do that on the first time, and then second, third time, it will be already much more easier. Next one, host institution agreement. This is the letter of support from the university. Where are you going to apply? So again, for any individual scholarship, it is not enough just to find a mentor, scientific mentor, a person who will help you with your research. But it is also necessary to apply for the university, mostly again with the help of this mentor, to have an institutional agreement or letter of support, mostly from the international relation officer, mostly signed by the vice rector or vice dean who is responsible for this academic exchanges. So this document is very important because this communication oftenly a bit bureaucratic. It takes a lot of emails to sign it. Then that's institution where I go in to apply, have to sign it, to scan it, to send you back. So you must do it in advance. And it's better to start with this letter of support or letter of institutional agreement because it takes some time. For example, once I had an application which was already ready with all the necessary documentation, and the only one thing which was missing is this institutional agreement, because simply the lady who worked in international relation office was somewhere on maternity leave or simply not available and simply didn't sign with this invitation letter. So you have to start with that in advance. Then next one, a list of publications. I would like again to comment a bit. When you have list of publications, actually all of us, I guess, we are gathering all our publications in one place, but it is very important to tailor this list of publications according to the template which is required by the specific program. For example, here I will give you a program as an example of Slovak National Scholarship Program. And my first application was rejected. And it was rejected because I have sent them the list of publications which wasn't in the table in the format which they recommend on the official website. I simply sent them the list of publications as it was in APA style, gathered in one Word document. But then I simply read the requirement on the website that they give the template in the shape of table where you have gathered not only list of publications, but also the web links for every publication. So again, one small, let's say, hint for you. If you have old publications, let's say since 10 years, well, those publications, they didn't have DOI, that's web link, like now all the modern journals provide us this web link for their website, for the open access publications. So what we did in university, in Sumy State University, we were forced as researchers to put all our publications on the official repository of our university. And actually, I know that this is a common practice, and a lot of universities are pushing their researchers to do the same, to publish all their papers on the official website of university. So I recommend you, if you don't have that wide list of latest publications, but probably you can have some publications like 5-10 years ago without this web link on that site, you can simply put the PDF copy of those publications on the official repository site, and that already will make them more visible. So this is a small comment on the list of publications. Then also one of the small things about publications, they must be properly bibliographically formatted. So I recommend you to use one formation like, for example, APA style, which is the mostly popular for scientific papers. So, you know, when the expert opens the list of your publications, it's like a student when a good student sends you diploma thesis, and you can see that this student already formatted Times New Roman 14, made the right spaces, the literature is already tailored to that standards. So you already have better impression of such a work. So that's the same. So it's better to have this tailored and properly formatted with one format with all those spaces, quotes, and all those things. Next one, proof of academic qualifications. This I have already mentioned. For example, here from our Jean Monnet program, you will have certificate of attendance. So it doesn't take a lot of time just to open one folder on your computer and put all your certificates there in that folder. And anyway, you can simply use those certificates as a proven of some kind of trainings, some kind of conference attendance, and so on. And of course, you must be ready to show the proof of your scientific degree. And again, I would recommend you for all of those scientific research grants applications, which I have experienced. Everywhere you need the translation. So again, it's necessary to prepare in advance. So PDF of your docent title or associated professor title or professorship title or master degree for PhD students. So it must be scanned, and plus to that, it must be translated and then in the English, obviously, and there must be a stamp of the form or a university, maybe department, to prove the official translation of this document. So like all of those grants, it's necessary to have these documents translated into English. The next one, budget plan. Not every individual scientific research requires a budget plan. Actually, there are two types of individual research grants. One type, it's, I would say, a bit more easier one. And like, for example, this one that I will give you as an example. When the researcher got the financing just on his or her personal banking account, like this scholarship from the Slovak agency. I simply send them IBAN and they transferred monthly the scholarship. So in this case, this amount of scholarship is fixed, and actually there is no need to prepare any budget plan, because this is simply a living allowance for the researcher stay in this country. But there are some more complicated applications, like Oksana, for example, mentioned Maria Skłodowska-Curie. So for that type of application, the researcher applies for the application not himself. For example, me, if I would like to apply for Maria Skłodowska-Curie, I can't simply write the application and send to them. The host institution, the university, applies for me, and the university, the host institution in foreign universities like in Slovakia, anywhere in Europe, will get that finances. So for such cases, these are long-term scientific research grants. They are higher, and actually for that, they include not only stay allowance for the researcher to live in that country, but those financing also includes professional career development plan. So it means publications, papers, traveling, even family allowance, and so on. So in this case, when the university gets the financing for this specific researcher, so in this case, when there is a list of some costs for the researcher, like taxes for that allowance and so on. So in this case, you also have to prepare the budget plan. So this is the typical list of the documentation for a scientific grant, and we move on. And now let's go closer to the application as an example. So actually, with the following slides, what I did, I simply copy-paste from my scientific grant proposal, which was supported, which was successful, the last one. I simply copy-paste from my application some examples of some structural components of that application. And now I will show you on the example of my application. Before I start, I wanted to share with you some statistic of my personal applications, because like my experience is limited with my applications. So actually I have applied for 9 different scholarship programs. 2 of them I'm still expecting the answer, so I hope that would be successful and supported. But 7 applications were in the past. So out of 7 applications, I was supported with 4 of them. So it means that 50% of my own applications were successful. So actually it means that if you have some kind of experience in writing applications, you have chances to have every second application to be supported and to be successful. But that's my personal experience. So actually, now let's move on to the application itself. So here on this slide, you can see the structure of my research proposal. So the structure, yeah, I simply copy-pasted the structural components from my research proposal. So general information, abstract, project aim, project results, background and context of my research proposal, relevance and importance of the research, research methods and data collection, empirical data sources, research questions and hypotheses, applicants' experience, information about supervisor, relevant papers of the supervisor, research schedule, timeline, and references. So every following slide would be dedicated to each of this structural component of my research proposal. One more comment I have forgotten to say about research topic. So actually there are some research proposals and research calls which are not required and which are not specified to some concrete call, like, for example, demography or democracy or some ecological issues or I don't know, some digitalizations, which are the very relevant topics right now. But those examples of this national scholarship programs and the example which I will show, as they have already mentioned, they support all the, let's say, fields of research. But one small recommendation for you to choose the right focus on your topic. For example, my research field is accounting because I work in the accounting and taxation department. But you know, nobody is interested in the salary or in taxation or fixed assets, let's say in Ukraine, anywhere in the world, in the micro level, in the level of EU or in the level of European countries. So actually nobody takes care about that. So my recommendation is to find your field of interest, which might be not only interested to you as a researcher, but also with the focus on something which is very actual right now. For example, what are the actual topics right now? Digitalization, artificial intelligence, everything which is socially nice, green, ecological, gender specific, helping some minorities. So if you're talking about taxation in terms of company profitability, it might be interesting, of course, but it doesn't have any social impact. But when you speak about taxation or something which could help some vulnerable categories like people with disabilities or some people like aging groups, or when you help, I don't know, children, animals, saving the planet. So every research topic could have this, I would say, good, warm, green effect. So with such direction of your research proposal, it will be easier for you to identify the necessity of support, because when you write about good things, the probability of the supporting these nice, well, green, warm things would be higher than just writing about profitability or performance indicators or something like that. So this is the small recommendation how to choose your topic. So let's move on. And now within this structure of my research proposal, again, this is just an example of National Scholarship Program of Slovak Republic. So general information. So this is how it might look like. I'm a big fan of tables. Everything that could be fit it into columns, to my mind, always looks better because that's structured, that looks nicer, and you can easily find the information in the table rather than the same would be just written with several sentences. So general information, it's like your information, your job position, some contacts about you, university department, and so on. So next one, abstract. Actually, the requirements for the abstract for your research proposal is absolutely the same as any abstract to any scientific research paper. So actually, abstract must be written at the very end of your research proposal, because in the abstract, you can simply in one sentence put the key ideas from every important part of your research proposal. So one sentence, background, like showing the context of research. In one sentence, the objective or the aim of your research. In one sentence, you can show the key methods that you used and maybe some key tools and key databases which were analyzed. Then in 1-2 sentences, results and conclusions. So general structure of any scientific research paper, actually. And here I have just copy-pasted the example of how I have formulated the project aim and the project results, because these are two different things. The project aim, it's something which is within scientific context. So again, if I have applied for scholarship on EU zone, so here I have to put somehow EU reporting practices, or if it's connected with some Ukrainian context. For example, a lot of research proposals right now are focused on helping Ukrainian researchers. So it would be nice to include something like with concrete specification of the topic with Ukrainian realities. Then project results, you have to specify what will be the scholar output of your scientific proposal. Because when this is like a short-term individual research program, like in this case, it's 10 months, so short-term, I mean less than 1 year, I guess that would be enough to have as a dissemination, as a result, just 2 papers maximum. Or maybe it could be something big like a monograph or some important article in Scopus of Web of Science, plus dissemination on the conference, so publication and conference thesis. So actually, what I know from my colleagues, a lot of my colleagues did the mistake. For 1 year research grant, they put like 5 publications, but it is impossible to prepare for 1 year 5 articles in Scopus. So actually, you must be realistic with your expectations and with what you plan to succeed. So actually, for 1 year in this research proposal, I promised 1 paper in Scopus of Web of Science, 1 conference proceedings, and 1 article in domestic journals. So actually that was enough for 1 year stay. So this is like dissemination of project results. Obviously there must be some kind of published results. So background and the context, again, I copy-paste just how I formalize it and formulated that. So I recommend you to be more specific, to show your expertise in this field, not just to say average words that about developing economy or crisis in Ukraine or some problems in Europe, but be specific with your concrete topic, with concrete figures, with concrete titles of databases and sources, with concrete titles of some standards or legislation you are intending to improve or to use, or and so on. So just to the background and the context must be specific, tailored to your topic, and must prove your expertise, that you're already familiar with this topic. Then relevance and importance of the research. Well, actually, for those who are already familiar with scientific papers in Scopus and Web of Science, actually you see that the structure of your research proposal is very similar. So actually you can simply show here some proof of the relevance and importance of your research. Actually, what was already started, what are the papers already published, what scientists and scholars have already achieved, and what is missing, what is your specific focus in that research sphere. The next one, main research methods and empirical data sources. In this section, I also recommend you to be as specific, as concrete as possible. Not just to mention generally inductia, deductia, how our students are usually writing in their diploma thesis, but to show concrete research methods and concrete objectives which be resolved with these research methods, and also empirical data sources. Again, with this, you can simply show your expertise, that you are aware. So whilst conducting a research on sustainability practices, with this empirical data sources, I already show that I know about national voluntary reviews on SDG programs that progress. I know that there are some statistical databases for that. I know that there are annual reports where I can find this information and so on. So simply with the description of empirical data sources, you already showing your expertise, that you are familiar with these sources. And the same about research methods. So the more concrete you are, the better impression your scientific research proposal will make for the experts. Next one, applicants' expertise and contribution to the previous development of the research topic. So here is my example how I did that. You can see it's simply the literature review in brief, made out of my own papers within this topic. So actually, I can simply show here again my expertise in this field, that I have published some paper in 2022, 2018, 2021, and so on. And I put just in 2-3 keywords what was described in those papers. So with this, you show your expertise that you have already done in this research field. And that's very important. That's why it is important to have the same research topic in which you are simply, with every your paper, you are gathering this scientific background. So that's why it's better to have such research topic to which you are dedicated, not like today I'm writing about salaries, tomorrow I'm writing about taxations, next year I will write about financial reports. But all those taxations reports and so on must be dedicated somehow to sustainability reporting and to improving some methodological or theoretical aspects of sustainability reporting. So some keywords in those articles must be the same, again, to show different angles of your scientific research topic. So this is how you can use the example of expertise and contribution of the scholar, of you as a researcher, to your scientific proposal. Then this is the example how research hypotheses and research questions could be gathered. Again, it's not necessary to put it into the table, but I simply like to make it in the tables. So here I gathered both timeline with some research activities. In case with this research proposal, which is a relatively easy one and smaller one, I didn't put here any mentioning of papers. But for more complicated scientific research proposals, like Maria Skłodowska-Curie, for example, I did the same table, but I added one more column where I have put it scholar output. And in that column, I added concrete titles of conferences or papers or maybe chapters in monographs in which I will disseminate these results, because the results must be disseminated somewhere and you have to promise what papers will be published. So actually, this is just an example of a research schedule timeline. Definitely, it must have some time frame, so just a time period during which you plan to do those or that research activities. You can formulate that as research questions, you can formulate that as research objectives or research activities or whatever. So that's just my example how I did that, how I formulated that according to my topic. Milestones. This is the, again, it's not necessary for these specific applications, but there are a lot of research proposals where it is necessary to group your objectives to some kind of milestone. So what is a milestone in scientific sphere? This is some kind of preliminary stage which you achieve on your research project, let's say. So it must be logical, it must be entitled somehow, and it must include some concrete research objectives and some concrete dissemination or publishing results. So this is a milestone. And oftenly milestones are necessary for bilateral grants or for team grants where there are several researchers working together, but it is not necessary to use milestones in individual research grants. The next one, this is information about supervisor and relevant papers of supervisor. So actually in this section, you should show the expertise and the profile in brief of your scientific supervisor. So scientific supervisor, again, relevant papers must be within your research topics. And again, you can show this information, his expertise in this research field, simply as a literature review with keywords and like links to his relevant papers, his or her. So actually, this is the last slide in my presentation. I tried to be brief. I tried to be as concrete as possible with this example. And actually, at the end of my presentation, I want to encourage you to start to write your own application. And also, I would like to share with you my experience, how I did my last applications. When I started, I did it as I prepared research application, then I implemented that. But my last application, I did oppositely. I have already prepared the scientific article. In that scientific article, I have already formulated methodology, topic, abstract. So actually, like any article in Scopus of Web of Science has the same, absolutely the same structure. So when this article was already ready, based on that article, before I have submitted that to the journal, I made a research proposal based on that article. Because you can see like background, abstract, methodology, databases, some conclusions, and so on. That's actually the structure of scientific paper, your research proposal. So actually, when I made my last research proposal, I had already achieved that with that paper. And when I got the positive answer from the granting agency, I simply submitted my paper. Then I attended a few conferences where I presented some separate part of that scientific research. And that's it, and that's done. So actually, I was ready with my research proposal even before I applied with that. And that was easier for me because I didn't have any stress fulfilling those results I promised in my research proposal. So actually, that's now how I do that. I work like all of us researchers, we are constantly working on something. So when you already have some, let's say, drafts of your papers, you can easily make very quickly research proposal based on your already prepared materials. So I hope that this concrete example maybe helps someone. If you have some questions, feel free to ask me. You can write in our chat. You can ask just here in let me have a look. Okay, so actually that's it from my side for today. I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you have some questions, please let me know.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You have been talking about CV and Europass website that is like a standard in the European Union. So I was wondering